today's topic is start with why. Okay, so start with why as in, so whenever we open a meeting or presentation, or whenever we start talking about something, or whenever we sell any type of product, or whenever we whenever we start talking about a particular topic, or whenever we open a presentation, whenever we pitch something to others, or whenever we convey an idea or anything for that matter, it is best to start with the why of it rather than, typically people define the topic or the idea and then they detail out all the features and so on, and then they go to why do they do it or why have they done it, right? But here the primary argument is that you start with why are you doing something, and then you start talking about the other features of your topic. Okay? So that's the essence of today's session. Start with why. Okay. So this is the concept basically. Certain companies or people are more successful than others. Okay, they innovate a lot more. So these companies do a lot of innovation, and those successful leaders inspire many people to follow in their path. Okay, and they're able to achieve this because they think, act, and communicate in a very unique way. Okay. Now the key thing to understand here is people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. Okay, I'll get into more details of this in subsequent slides, but this is the core concept of today's session. So there is something called as the golden circle. Okay, so it is made up of three things. First is the why, then you have the how, and then you have the what. Okay, so why is defined as your purpose. So what is your cause? What do you believe in? How is the process? So we are seeing specific actions taken to realize your why. So what sort of steps will you undertake to realize your objective? Why is basically your cause or your objective, right? So how do you achieve that objective is the process. So that is the second stage. And then the third stage is your process, as in what exactly do you do, what do you make or something. So for example, what is typically any company that makes automobiles, for example. So they say we are an automobile company, right? So that is a what of it. Okay, but why do they make automobiles? Why does that company exist to make automobiles? What objective does it achieve? What objective does it try to achieve? What vision it has? So that is the why component of it. Now the interesting thing here is that all companies know what they do. They know whether they make cars or cell phones or whatever, right? And most of the companies know how they do it. By how, as in what sort of manufacturing process they follow, what are the best practices they undertake, and so on. Okay, but very few companies know why they do it or why they exist. Okay? So typically, you ask this question: why do you exist? Why do you do what you do? They say, hey, we exist to serve our customers. We exist to provide top quality products for our customers. But that is not the answer. That is not the right answer to the question of why. That is not the right answer to the question of the purpose. Okay. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with Henry Ford. He was, in fact, the modern day automobile, the Ford Model T. He was the one who pioneered the concept of what we call today as a car, right? Now, when he made the car, he made this statement. Okay, so if we had asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Because at that time, in the early 20th century, people were going around in horse-drawn carriages, right? And Henry Ford was the first person who started manufacturing cars, and then that was the first time automobiles hit the general public market. So at that time, if Henry Ford had asked people what they wanted, they would have said they would have wanted a faster horse, because at that time people did not know anything apart from horses. Now this is where Henry Ford applied that why principle. So why do you want to travel from one place to another, or why do you require means of transport to travel from one place to another? Because you want to get there faster, you want to get there on time, you want to have a convenient and safe journey. So these are all the questions that your product should target, right? And this is where he innovated radically. He thought outside the box and said, okay, horses are no longer going to achieve these objectives, so let's think of something else. And that's how he came up with the concept of the automobile. Okay, but so this is the difference in the results that you get when you start with the why. So if you have started with the what, then your thinking would have been like, okay, so what should I make to do easier transportation? Then you would have said a more comfortable horse-drawn carriage, faster horse or whatever. But you start with the why, you address the core issue of what people want, and then that's how you're able to innovate radically. So a similar example, but in a modern day scenario, you take Apple, right? So Apple sells computers. They also sell a lot of other products, but for the moment, let us just consider computers. Okay. So the regular marketing message is, so I'm coming back to this picture over here. So this is how the typical marketing is done. Any company you see for that matter, they will start with the what, they will move on to how, and then sometimes they will define the why, sometimes they won't define the why. Okay. But the most successful companies do this in the reverse order. So they start with the why, they proceed to how, and then they say what they are doing. So same context in the case of Apple, if you see, the regular marketing message will look something like this. So what will be, we make great computers. How? They're beautifully designed, simple to use, user-friendly. Okay. And they'll ask, you want to buy one? So this is the regular marketing message which companies follow. But how does Apple actually do it? How does Apple actually market their products? So this is the way they do it. They start with the why. Okay. So everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in doing things differently. If you remember, up until some time back, the tagline of Apple was "Think Different." And if you've seen that movie that they made on Steve Jobs, there's this line where he talks about, I think Ashton Kutcher stars as Steve Jobs, and he says, we look for people like the round pegs in the square holes, or there is some sort of a dialogue like that. So that is where they say we believe in doing things differently. Okay, and how do we achieve this? Our products are beautifully designed, they're very simple to use, and they're very user friendly. Same movie, the guy who plays Steve Jobs, he says, if I make a computer, my grandmother should be able to use it. It should be that simple. So that is the how part of it. And what do they do? So we just happen to make great computers. You want to buy one. So why do they say this? We just happen to make great computers, because computers is just one of the products that Apple makes, right? They also make a lot of other products as well. But the thing today is, people who buy Apple computers are not hesitant about buying other Apple products, because the same principles, the same design principles, the same principles of user friendliness and simplicity is applicable across all Apple products, because they start with this why. Okay. And a little bit more detailed on this concept. So why is not about making profits. So again, like I said, when you pose this question to people, why do you exist, or why do you make these products, or why are you a player in this particular market? They say we want to make profits, but that is not the real answer to the question of why. The real answer is, why do we exist? And that answer looks something like this. We believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in doing things differently. Okay. So from a marketing angle, if you see, why is the reason to buy? Okay, this is the core part of it. The what you sell is just a tangible representation of the why. It is just a proof of that belief. Why is what you call as that gut feeling. Okay. So for example, you let's assume that you are in a position to take a decision about what sort of a mobile phone you want to buy. Okay, so you are bombarded with statistics. You browse so many websites, you see so many statistics, performance parameters, and so on. Okay, and then you analyze all that data, but still, at times you will not be able to take that final decision easily. Okay, so that is where you see this. There is a specific what part which helps you analyze data, and then there is this why component, which is more of an emotional decision, which is based on what does your gut tell you, or what does your instinct tell you. Okay, so the why is the actual core reason to buy, and what is just a tangible representation. So this is what I said. Though Apple is primarily a computer company, people are willing to buy all of its different products, mobiles, iPods, AirPods, etc., because the same why principle is applied across all of this Apple marketing, and then people are able to associate easily with what Apple sells. Okay. And many other companies have tried this but failed because their marketing message was not effective enough. So for example, there was a time when Dell also came up with some MP3 player or something, but if you ask someone what does Dell do, they say Dell is a computer company. They make laptops and desktops. That's what people know. Nobody knows at one point of time Dell tried to make MP3 players because they were not very successful at it. And the reason they were not successful was they did not apply this why principle to their marketing. So that is why they failed. So whatever I have told until now, it's not just some vague or abstract idea. There is somewhat of a science behind it. Okay. So if you see, there is this human nature's desire to belong with those who share our why, as in who share our beliefs. Okay. So there are two parts of the human brain. Okay. So one is called as the neocortex, and then there is another called as the limbic brain. Okay. So whatever you see shaded in yellow or orange, so that is the limbic brain, and then the other part is the neocortex. Now this neocortex is responsible for analysis but doesn't drive behavior, and this limbic brain is responsible for feelings such as trust and loyalty. Now let me just come back to that example of buying a mobile phone. You browse through many websites, you look through so many numbers, performance parameters and other data, and then you analyze that data, you do comparisons and so on. Okay, so all that work is done by your neocortex. Okay, but the ultimate decision of what mobile phone to buy, that is not taken by your neocortex, that is taken by your limbic brain. Okay, and this part is responsible for feelings such as trust and loyalty, and therefore your ultimate decision of what mobile phone to buy is based on trust and loyalty. So how much do you trust the brand? How much loyal are you to a particular brand? So this is where this brand identity and those things come into play, and as a marketer it is very important for you to target these aspects of trust and loyalty, thereby targeting the limbic brain, so that ultimately you are able to successfully sell your product to the customer. Okay, so this is a mistake that companies usually make today. They start with the what and how because that's what customers ask for. So if you ask a customer what sort of product he wants, then they'll say that I want product of high quality with low price, I want you to provide good service, etc. Okay, but this is not the way for you to be very, very successful. So that is where the why part comes in, where the objective of why is you emotionally influence the decision. Okay, and you focus not on everybody but on those who share your beliefs. So any luxury product, for example, if you take today, like a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz, it's not a mass market product, right? It is not marketed to everyone or all strata of the society. So those cars or those products are only marketed to a particular section of the society because that section of the society shares the belief of that BMW or Mercedes-Benz company. So they share the same ideals of luxury and so on. So that is why these products are marketed exclusively to those sections of the society. So whatever we have discussed just now, it's not a vague or an abstract topic, but there is a real science behind this concept. Okay. So like I said, the limbic brain is associated with feelings and decision making. And when we communicate from the inside out, so inside out as in we start with the why, we move on to how, and then we define the what. So when we do this, we talk directly to the decision making part of the brain. The very first point that you make, you're applying, you're targeting this limbic brain, and thereby you're targeting the emotional part of the brain, and thereby you are applying a great influence over the person's ability to take the decision. Okay, so it is like appealing to the heart and soul. So again, coming back to that mobile phone example, you look through all that data, but somehow you get that feeling that you don't want to buy that phone. Okay, that is because you started looking with all that data, and that data processing happens in a different area of the brain, which does not have anything to do with emotion. But the ultimate decision is an outcome of an emotional judgment. You ultimately buy a mobile phone because you like it, right? And that decision is taken only by the limbic brain. And if you want to target this, you have to start with the why. Okay. So certain other points as well. The same thing can be applied in a hiring context. So for example, when companies hire people, normally what they do is they hire skilled people and then they motivate those people. But the better way to do it is you hire already motivated people who share your vision. See, skills is something that anyone can acquire if they have the right attitude, right? So a lot of companies, what they do is they hire motivated people and who share the vision of the company, who are in line with the ideals of the company. Okay, so that is because these people, that is the second type of people, are more productive, innovative, and they also inspire others to work in the same way. So overall, the company culture will be very, very conducive. So this is the same start with the why concept applied in a hiring scenario. Okay, and there is also one additional thing where it is important to strike the right balance between the why and the how part of it. Okay, so leaders typically, they are the why type, right? So they are optimists who believe everything can be accomplished. They are very future oriented. They are good at setting the vision of the company. Steve Jobs is a classic example. Okay, the how people are more practical and realistic. They are good at executing the vision or building things. Okay, so for any successful company, they need to have the right mix of why and how. So the leadership level should be having people with a why personality type, and the operations or the other people who are involved in execution, they should be of the how personality type, where they are more practical and realistic. So that's how you strike the right balance for success. Now, typically companies have something called a vision statement and a mission statement, right? So basically the why the company exists, or what is the purpose of that company in the market. So that comprises the vision statement of the company. And how do they plan to achieve that vision? What steps do they plan to take? So that comprises the mission statement of the company. So that is the how part of it. Now, just like in the case of hiring, the same principle applies in the case of successful leaders as well. So any leader you take, right? For example, Mahatma Gandhi or Nelson Mandela or Fidel Castro. So of course, they were all good orators. There is no doubt about that. But do you think people were drawn to them purely because of their oratorial skills? Not really, right? They were drawn to these leaders because those leaders shared the vision of the people. So Mahatma Gandhi fought for independence. The people of India were also thirsting for independence, and this is where they felt the connect between the leader and the masses, and therefore that connect made these people follow their leaders. Okay, so the same start with the why principle, or you're addressing the core sense of belongingness which humans feel naturally. Okay, so that is the same principle applied in the case of successful leaders. Okay, so to be more precise, there are two types of people, even in the leadership category. There are leaders and there are those who lead. Okay, so leaders, anyone can call themselves a leader, right? So for example, in certain large organizations, people say project leader or a leader of a finance organization or whatever. Okay, so anyone can call themselves a leader, but do they actually lead is another different question. And how do you lead actually, or how do you successfully lead people who are in your care? You do it by appealing to their emotional needs, and you do it by associating yourselves with what the people want, and thereby you achieve that connect. You appeal to the emotional aspect of the people's thinking, and that is how you pitch your products or your ideas successfully. Okay. So for more information on the same topic, there is actually this book available. In fact, this book was the one which pioneered this concept of start with why. It's a book by a person called Simon Sinek. So it's titled Start with Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. Okay. For a very brief overview of the topic, there is also a TED Talk available by the same author. You can just Google it and you can watch the video. If you are more interested, you can read the book. So yeah, that's what I had for today.